Someone is about to make a bold move, just to be with you. Wait, before you scroll past this, listen. He set the glass down too hard, not slammed, just too hard. The sound cracked across the kitchen counter, and for a full second, nobody at the table moved. His friend had been mid-sentence. Something casual, something about a weekend, a plan, a name that wasn't supposed to come up tonight. And then it did. Your name, not even said with weight, just dropped. The way someone mentions the weather. But he heard it like a door opening in a room he thought he'd locked. He didn't say anything right away. He just stared at the rim of his glass like it had answers. His friend kept talking, oblivious, the conversation rolling on without him. But he wasn't there anymore. He was somewhere 3 months back. Somewhere you'd both stood once. Somewhere he'd convinced himself he'd already moved past. And then he stood up quietly, mumbled something about needing air, walked out the back door and into a cold he didn't feel. That's where the bold move starts. Not in a dramatic gesture yet, not in a phone call or a message. It starts in the moment a man hears your name from someone else's mouth and realizes the silence he's been living in isn't peace, it's avoidance. And avoidance has an expiration date. You've been feeling something this week. I know you have. A tightness behind the ribs, a pull you can't quite name. You've checked your phone more than usual, even though you told yourself you stopped doing that. You've had a few moments where a song came on, or a smell drifted by, or a stranger laughed in a way that sounded too familiar. And your whole body just paused. That's not random, that's the resonance of someone, somewhere, finally letting themselves think about you, without putting it down. And what's coming next isn't going to look like a movie. It's not what's going to be loud. It's going to be a deliberate, quiet choice on their part, a decision to do the one thing they've been refusing to do. Cross the distance they built. On purpose. With nothing to hide behind. Let me back up. Let me show you what actually happened tonight because the details matter. He was at someone's place. Not his. A small gathering. 5, maybe 6 people. The kind of evening where everyone's a little too comfortable, where the conversation drifts, and nobody's paying close attention. He'd been doing well. That's what he'd been telling himself. Doing well. Keeping busy. Not thinking about you in the way he used to. But not thinking about you in the way he used to is a very specific lie. People tell themselves when the truth is just thinking about you differently now. Quieter. Underneath everything. And then his friend, the one across the table, the one who doesn't know the full story, said your name. Not in a loaded way, just in passing. Something about running into you, or seeing a post, or hearing about something you're doing. It barely registered for everyone else at the table, but him. He felt the room get smaller. He felt his own pulse in his throat, which is a thing that doesn't happen to people who are over someone. It happens to people who've been pretending. He took a sip of his drink and tried to keep his face neutral. He even nodded, said something short, something like, "Yeah, I heard," or "That's good for her," or whatever the safe phrase was, but his hand was tighter around the glass than it needed to be. And when he set it down, that's when the sound happened. The one that made everyone briefly look up. He laughed it off, said something about being tired, but the friend who said your name caught his eyes for half a second, too long. The friend knew, not the details, just the shape of it, the way men can tell when another man has been quietly carrying something he won't admit to. That look, that tiny half-second look across the table, was the first crack, because suddenly he wasn't alone in his own avoidance anymore. Someone had seen it, and being seen is the beginning of the end of pretending. If this message is finding you at the right moment, comment "I receive this love," like the video and subscribe. There's more coming for you. So he stepped outside, stood on a porch or a balcony, or a patch of cold concrete behind someone's house. I don't know the exact geography, but I know what he did there. He pulled out his phone. He didn't open your name, not yet. He opened the photo app, scrolled to a date months back, and looked at one specific picture for a long time. You'd know which one. There's always one. The one where you weren't even posing. The one taken in the middle of something ordinary. The one he kept telling himself he should delete but never did. He didn't cry. He's not a crier. But his jaw did that thing. That small tightening. That swallow that goes nowhere. And he said, out loud, to no one, "What am I doing?" 3 words. Flat. Almost annoyed. But he meant it, because the version of him that walked out of that kitchen was already a different person from the one who walked in. He just didn't have a name for it yet. Have you ever had a moment where someone's absence suddenly became louder than their presence ever was? That's what was happening to him out there. The cold air, the dim porch light, the muffled laughter from inside, none of it touched him. He was somewhere else entirely. He was in a memory he hadn't let himself revisit on purpose. A small one, not a big dramatic one. He was remembering the way you'd reached over once and fixed his collar without thinking. Just reached over mid-sentence, fixed it, kept talking, and how that small gesture, the carelessness of it, the easiness of it, had made him feel something he didn't have the vocabulary for at the time. Safe, maybe. Chosen, maybe. Known, definitely. He'd let that go, or he'd thought he had. But standing on that porch, the memory came back so clearly, it felt like it had been waiting in line. And here's the thing that broke him a little. He realized he couldn't remember the last person who'd done something that small for him. That casual, that assumed, that without flinching. Nobody had, not really, not since you. That's when the second thought hit him. The kind of thought that doesn't ask permission. Maybe I let go too quickly. He pushed it down. He's good at pushing things down. He went back inside. He sat back at the table. He smiled. He laughed at the right times. He refilled his drink. He performed the version of himself everyone expected, but the porch was still in him. You're feeling this too, aren't you? Not the specific moment, you couldn't know those details, but the resonance of it. The way today, or yesterday, or sometime this week, you've felt something shift in the air around you. Not loud, just present. Like someone, somewhere, had finally turned in your direction. I want you to understand something about this kind of energy. When two people who were genuinely connected drift apart, they don't always cleanly separate. They keep a thread between them, invisible, mostly inactive, but real. And when one of them starts pulling on that thread again, the other one feels it. Not as words, as pressure, as mood, as the inexplicable urge to glance at a window, or check a phone, or pause in the middle of doing nothing. That thread is being pulled right now. The first event was him hearing your name, and the small, accidental confession his body made in front of his friends. That was the crack. That happened tonight, or last night, or sometime in a window of days that's already begun. But here's where things shift, because what happens next is not just internal. The next day, or maybe 2 days later, the timing's not the point. Something else happens, something he doesn't plan, something that pushes him from quiet realization into actual movement. He gets a message, not from you, from someone else, someone in his life, who for reasons of their own, brings you up again. Maybe it's a sibling, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's the same friend from the kitchen, following up with a text that says something innocent like, "Hey, you okay last night? You went quiet after I mentioned her name." That kind of thing, casual, concerned, not pushy. He reads it, he sets the phone down, he picks it up again, he reads it 3 times, and the thing is, once someone names what you've been hiding from yourself, you can't go back to hiding from it. The text wasn't a confrontation. It was a small mirror held up at exactly the wrong angle. He looks at his own reflection in someone else's words, and finally sees what he's been doing. He's been treating the loss of you as something he had to live with. But what if it wasn't? That question, but what if it wasn't, lands in him like a stone in still water. The ripples don't stop. He doesn't answer the text right away. He goes for a walk. He walks farther than he meant to. He passes a place that has a memory attached to it. Not even a big one, just somewhere you'd both been once, briefly, in some forgettable context that's no longer forgettable. He stops in front of it for a long time, and then he does something he hasn't done in months. He opens your name on his phone, not the message thread, the contact card. He just looks at it, the picture you'd set, or the one his phone generated. Your name spelled exactly the way he used to type it without thinking. He doesn't message you. Not yet, but he doesn't close it either. He stands there on the sidewalk, phone in his hand, your name on the screen. And for the first time in months, he's not running from the question. He's sitting with it. Have you felt this in the last day or two? A heaviness that wasn't yours. A sense of someone holding something that involves you, even though you couldn't possibly know what. That's why. Now listen. The bold move I'm telling you about isn't him sending a long dramatic message. It isn't him showing up at your door with flowers. It isn't a grand gesture for the cameras. The bold move is quieter and harder than that. The bold move is him being willing to be the one who reaches first, knowing he might not be received the way he wants, knowing he might have to sit in your silence, the way you sat in his, knowing he doesn't get to control how this goes. That's the part that's been stopping him this whole time. Not lack of feeling, but fear of being the more exposed one, and he's about to do it anyway, because something tipped. The kitchen, the porch, the photo, the text from the friend, the walk past the place that mattered, these things stacked. He didn't plan them, they just kept happening, and eventually, the weight of all those small moments became heavier than the comfort of staying silent. If this resonates, let it settle in you. Don't grab for it, just notice. Here's what he's actually wrestling with. He's not wrestling with whether he still cares about you. That question was answered. The moment he heard your name across that table, and his whole body reacted before his mind could catch up. The body doesn't lie about people. It just doesn't. What he's wrestling with is the story he's been telling himself, the story where he had to let you go. The story where it was the mature, correct, adult choice. The story where there were reasons, practical, logistical, emotional, that made the decision make sense. He's been holding on to that story like a railing. Letting go of it means falling into something messier and less defensible. But the story has been getting thinner. And tonight in that kitchen it tore. Why does this still feel unfinished? That's the thought he can't shake. Why, months later, does this still feel like a sentence he stopped writing in the middle of a word? Because that's what it was. He didn't end things. He paused things, and he called the pause an ending, so he could keep walking. But you can't pretend a pause is an ending, when your body still flinches at the sound of someone's name. He knows that now. He didn't know it 3 days ago. But he knows it now. There's something else you should understand. the version of him that's about to reach out. It's not the same version that walked away. People change in the quiet. He's spent the last stretch of his life learning in small painful increments what your presence actually was. Not what he assumed it was, not what he told his friends it was, what it actually was, the texture of it, the steadiness of it, the way you didn't ask him to be anything other than what he was on a Tuesday afternoon. He'd taken that for granted. He sees that now without self-pity, just clearly. And when he reaches out, and he will reach out, within a window that's already closing in. It's not going to come from regret in the dramatic sense. It's going to come from clarity. The clarity of someone who finally understands what they had, and is no longer willing to pretend they don't want it back. Picture it. He's somewhere, his car, his kitchen, the edge of his bed. The message is half-typed. He's rewritten it 4 times. He's deleted whole versions of it. And finally he just stops trying to make it perfect. He writes something simple, something honest, something that doesn't perform, maybe just, "I've been thinking about you. I shouldn't have let it go the way I did," or maybe even shorter than that. The point is, he's sending it without armor. That's the bold move, not the words themselves. Anyone can send words. The bold move is the absence of protection in them, the willingness to be wrong, to be late, to be human in front of you again, and the version of you that's going to receive that message. She doesn't have to know yet how she's going to respond. That's not the work right now. The work right now is just being ready to feel something, without immediately deciding what to do with it. Because here's what I want you to know. And this is important. You don't owe anyone forgiveness on a timeline. You don't owe anyone a particular reaction. You don't owe anyone the version of you they're hoping to find on the other side of their bold move. You get to receive it, however you receive it, and whatever rises in you when it lands, that's allowed to be the truth, even if it surprises you. But I'd be lying if I said this isn't significant. 2 people drifting in the same silence. That's one of the loneliest configurations in the world. You've been doing it. He's been doing it. Both of you thinking the other one had moved on. Both of you missing the other in private. Both of you convinced you were the only one still holding the thread. You weren't. Something about them still stays with you, doesn't it? Even when you've gone weeks without consciously thinking about them. Even when you've genuinely built a life that doesn't revolve around their memory. There's still a corner of you that hasn't closed, a small stubborn corner that knows the story wasn't finished. That corner has been right, and the quiet shift you've been feeling these past few days, the unexplainable mood, the sudden pang at a random hour, the dream you can't quite remember in the morning, that's that corner, being touched from the other side. He's reaching for the same thread you've been holding. You don't need to force this, just feel it. Now, will it look exactly like the version I'm describing? Maybe not in every detail. The kitchen might be a living room. The friend might be a relative. The message might be a phone call. The exact form bends to the lives involved. But the shape of it, the dynamic, the energy, the choice he's making, that's real. That's what's happening. And when it lands, you're going to know. You'll know because you won't have to ask yourself if it's a coincidence. You won't have to overanalyze. There'll be a clarity to it, a specific weight, the kind of moment where, even before you fully process the words, your body will already be telling you what's true. That's how thread energy works. The mind catches up to the body, always. So between now and then is closer than you think. Try not to rehearse. Try not to imagine 17 different versions of how this might go. Try not to construct the perfect response in advance. Just live in your own life, attend to your own day, drink your water, sleep when you're tired, and let the moment come to you the way it's already on its way. There's a verse I think about sometimes. Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. I don't quote it as a sermon, I quote it because it's just true. There's a time for silence, and there's a time for the silence to end, and the timing isn't yours to force, but you can feel it when it shifts. It's shifting. He doesn't know yet that you've been feeling it too. He thinks he's the only one who hasn't fully let go. He'd be embarrassed to admit how often your name has shown up in his life this past week. Not just in that kitchen, but in small ways, repeated, almost insistent songs, stray comments, a book on a shelf. He's been noticing the universe doing what the universe does, gently underlining the same word in 3 different colors until you finally read it. He's reading it now, and the bold move he's about to make isn't about getting you back in the romantic movie sense. It's something simpler and more honest than that. It's about telling the truth he's been hiding from. It's about admitting that the version of his life that doesn't include you isn't actually the version he wants. It's about being willing to say that out loud to you, knowing he might not be met the same way. That's the courage, not the words, the exposure, and whether or not you choose to meet him there, that's yours, fully yours. No one gets to take that decision from you, but you deserve to know that the choice is coming. Soon. Not weeks, days. You'll feel it the moment before it happens, a weird pause in your chest, a reason to look at your phone you can't quite name. When it comes, breathe first. Don't answer with the version of you that's still angry. Don't answer with the version of you that's still hopeful. Answer with the version of you that's whole. Whatever she decides, that's the right answer. You've grown in this silence, so has he. Whatever happens next gets to be a meeting between 2 slightly different people than the ones who parted. That's not a tragedy. That's actually how second chances become real ones instead of repeats. If you've felt this shift too, you already understand. The quiet hum you've been carrying, the one you couldn't explain to your friends, the one that doesn't fit your current life on paper. It's not nothing, it's not you being stuck, it's not you being weak, it's the truth your body has been holding for you while your mind tried to move on. Your body was right, his was too, and what they're beginning to realize now is something they can't walk away from anymore. Not this time.